little over a year ago, I did a video on the 22 Creedmoor, comparing it to the 22 ARC, and I also compared it to the 22 250 Remington. And at the time, I kind of made a bold statement saying, the 22 Creedmoor, as good as it is, it's just not going to last. It doesn't have Hornady's full support. There's no way that Horizon can basically boost this cartridge to being mainstream. Boy, was I wrong. In today's video, we are going to do a deep dive into the 22 Creedmoor. We're going to talk about why it is taking off, why I believe it's the new king of varmint and 22 calibers. And I'm also going to share with you what I think is the best powders to hand load the cartridge with. Let's get into it. Let's talk a little history for this cartridge. This was first introduced as a Wildcat by Horizon in 2014. There was no official ammo for it. People were just basically necking down a 6mm Creedmoor and hand loading for it. And then in December 2023, Hornady finally submitted the cartridge to SAMI to be SAMI approved, and they started making factory ammo for it shortly thereafter. So this cartridge is coming up on 2 years old in December, and it's steadily getting more and more popular. Why is it taking hold and becoming really popular? Well, it's pretty easy. It's a bigger, better version of a 22 250 Remington. It has the fast twist. You can shoot the heavier, higher BC bullets like this 80 grain ELDM. And again, it's faster too than a 22 250 Remington. I'll show you that in a sec. It's more accurate, just better in every way. Right. What I want to take the rest of the time for the bulk of the video is talking about the type of powders you should be using that are going to get you really good velocity and good accuracy. This, especially for those that are just starting to hand load 22 Creedmoor, not sure where to start. Hopefully this will help. Now let's just get this out of the way. Let's talk about the potential of the 22 250 Remington. So what we're looking at here is the case volume, which you'll see is around 45.7 grains of water capacity. We're going to test this in a 24-inch barrel. I understand that a lot of 22 250 Remingtons are 26, which I would highly recommend. And then the bullet we're going to use is going to be a 35 grain Nosler Varmageddon. I just kind of want to see what ballpark max velocity is. And as I suspected, it's around 4,400 feet per second, which is pretty darn quick, especially in a 24-inch barrel. There's a reason it has been really the king of varmint cartridges. Okay, now we're getting into 22 Creedmoor, looking at the same dimensions, and right away you can see that it almost has 3 grains more of water capacity. So it's already a bigger case. We're going to use the exact same barrel length, and we're going to use the exact same bullet. As you can see here, it's 100 feet per second faster. So I don't know anyone really shooting 35 grain bullets in a 22 Creedmoor, but if they really wanted to, it does just flat out beat 22 250 Remington. All right, first up, let's just look at what kind of data you can get, what kind of powder you should be using if you're wanting to shoot, say, like a 62 grain Barnes bullet in your 22 Creedmoor. All right, we're back into GRT, and what I've done is loaded in the 62 grain Barnes TTSX, and I know who's going to shoot a dumpy mono bullet that's only 62 grains that has a really terrible BC. Well, this is just an idea of what kind of velocities you can get with a 60-ish grain bullet. Now, the powder of choice we're going to use is Vihtavuori N550, and we're looking at 3,700 feet per second with N550. That is very impressive. All right, for the 62 grain class bullet, these are some of the best powders you can get for a 62 grain. So what we're looking for, high case fill, 100% burnt propellant. All 4 of these can do that. All right, I'm just going to show you those powders and what the case fill kind of looks like and the top velocity you're going to get. Okay, IMAR 4350. It's just going to be a consistent contender with 22 Creedmoor, really good case fill, pretty decent velocity, 36-40 feet per second. And 550, what I showed you in GRT, over 3,700 feet per second, pretty darn good case fill at 95%. And 150, 96% case fill, a little bit lower on the velocity, but N150 usually just shoots really small. So that's why I include it. Varget's a little fast burning, hence why it's a little lower on the case fill, but you're getting close to 3,700 feet per second with Varget. Okay, N540, another kind of faster burning powder like Varget, 36-40 feet per second. Lastly, if you got some Alliant powder, Reloader 16 is your ticket, 101% case fill, 3,700 feet per second. All right, we're jumping up to probably the most popular bullet weight for the 22 Creedmoor is an 80 grain. We're specifically putting the Burger VLD for this one. And a really good powder for this is Hodgins H4350. We're looking at a top velocity of probably around 3,335 feet per second at 65,000 PSI. That's moving. Now, when we bump up to an 80 grain, we are wanting to go with some slower burning powders. So last time I did not have N160 in there, and I didn't have H4350. These are awesome powders for 80 grain. So here we are with 80 grain. Again, as I showed, H4350, you're getting 3,335 feet per second, and 555. I wish I had some. Really good powder. Really high case fill and pretty darn good velocity, 3,325 feet per second. And 550, still pretty darn good, 92% case fill, 3,345 feet per second. And 160, really good case fill, a little bit slower on the velocity, not too bad, 3,315. And again, this powder just doesn't go away. IMR 4350, 96% case fill, 3,285 feet per second. It's not the fastest. And then Reloader 16, 98% case fill, and we'll get you the top velocities. All right, we're going to some of the heavier bullets. We're going to specifically look at the 88 grain ELDM. And where things get a little interesting. GRT is a bit off from what Hornady data says. I'm not sure which one to believe. You know, I know you guys are going to think that I think everything of GRT and that it's the most accurate thing in the world, all that, yada, yada. It's not. There's definitely some cartridges I don't trust GRT with, and there's some powders I completely don't trust at all. You gotta use your noggin and think things through. You know, GRT, unfortunately, doesn't get updated anymore. So, yeah, there's some things that aren't accurate in GRT. And I'm kind of wondering if this is one of them. Or maybe Hornady has it wrong. But anyway, according to Gordon's reloading tool, the top velocity you could get is really with Reloader 19 with an 88 grain ELDM at like 3230 maybe, 3225. Let's look at the Hornady data. All right, pulled up the Hornady data, and wow, top velocity is with Reloader 22, 3,300 feet per second. You know what? As I was editing this video, I realized Hornady's actually right on with the 22 Creedmoor. So, I mean, you look at what Reloader 19 gives you. They said 3250. GRT said 3230. That's pretty darn close. And it's pretty close with the other powders I'm going to share in a little bit. The only outlier is Reloader 22. I'm not sure how they're getting 3,300 feet per second and staying under 65,000 PSI, but oh, they know a lot more than me. Let's look at what powders to use for an 88 grain or 90 grain bullet. First off, N160, really good, 3175. N555, really good case fill, 3175. H4350, it's a little fast burning, but I still think it's pretty darn good for this weight bullet. 90% case fill, 3190 feet per second. IMR 4350, it's a little on the slow side, but you know, it's what it is. Reloader 19, and if you could just get one powder for the heaviest bullets for 22 Creed, if you could actually get this, this is it, guys. Over 3,200 feet per second. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. For those that own a 22 Creedmoor, let me know what you think of it. Are the velocities seem about similar to what you're getting? For those looking to get a 22 Creedmoor, I'd highly recommend a 26-inch barrel. You're going to be able to get a bit faster velocities than what I showed. And yeah, longer barrels are better. I do think eventually the 22 Creedmoor is going to overtake 22-250 Remington. Unless companies start making faster twist 22-250s. Yeah, I just don't see how the 22-250 Remington is going to survive the 22 Creedmoor.